Okay, right.
Let me just, you do the intro and I'll...
Welcome to today's FFS. Today we are talking about Pinterest, which is really interesting because actually I don't know a lot about Pinterest, but I know some theory about Pinterest. Simon Daly knows absolutely jack shit about Pinterest, apart from castles and brutalist architecture. And Hannah is our Pinterest expert. Yay! But Hannah might have to leave halfway through to so we'll see how far we get, basically. So, First of all, I have some stats for you about Pinterest. Right, there are stats. We love a few stats. There are currently 478 million people on Pinterest. It was one of the fastest growing networks until TikTok came along and stole its thunder. About 50% of current users are in the United States, but obviously that means the other half are all over the world and people are using it for all sorts of different things. 6 out of 10 Pinterest users are women. And it was actually, for quite a few years, it was the fastest growing social media network amongst women who were over 50s. So they were going to Pinterest rather than going to Facebook or Twitter or anywhere else. And 28% of marketers say that they use Pinterest as a cornerstone of their marketing strategy. Now, obviously, Pinterest is a very, very image heavy platform. It's a little bit like TikTok or Instagram. But that doesn't mean that it can't be relevant for all sorts of brands. 7 out of 10 people who use Pinterest said that they had discovered a new product or brand based on interactions on Pinterest. So it can be really powerful if you get it right. Now, we use Pinterest, don't we, Hannah, for growth traffic?
We do use Pinterest. We use it to drive blog traffic. So I would say there's a couple of reasons that you'd use Pinterest. One is if you're trying to sell services and goods. And the other one is to, boost your SEO and drive blog traffic. And interestingly, I'm going to lay a stat on you. Pinners, as they're called, so people who use Pinterest. Oh, we've lost Rachel. We'll carry on with that. I'm sure she'll come back. So people who use Pinterest, 95% of them say that they use Pinterest to find services and goods and businesses and brands that they can rely on. And of people that buy on Pinterest, they tend to spend 85% more than people who have come from a website that's not Pinterest onto an e-commerce site. And I think that
Pinterest.
No, I read it on some stats. I'll put it in the comments. Pinterest. And they have more users than Twitter and Snapchat put together. So it's an incredibly busy social media platform, and not only is it a social media platform, but it's increasingly used as a search engine. So it can massively increase your targeted traffic on your blogs. It can increase your sales on both services and goods. So it is an incredibly powerful tool that you can weaponize if you're doing it right. So we got some top 5 tips for you coming at you. So we'll just carry on with that, Rachel.
Carry on with that. She'll be back.
Dally, you're going to have to do a Tales from the Garage, and I'll try and talk about the Sir Optimus at some point. Sure, and if we can bring in some period knickers, it'll all be good. So tip 1 is work with a good domain. So, Dally, what do we mean by this?
Work with a good domain? What do you mean by that?
So what I mean by this is make sure that you are already working, you set off on your Pinterest journey with an excellent website. So don't be sending traffic back to a shit website because it's not going to work for you anyway. So make sure that your website is of a good quality. Dally, what do we mean by good quality website?
Well, a website is well built, well optimized, well structured, has all the relevant keywords in the right place, has call to actions, has optimized images, compressed images, blah, 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 and gets people back to the conversion point. Yeah. Hannah started asking me questions and I had no idea what she was talking about. Why are we talking about domains when we talk about Pinterest? Sorry, I'm confused.
You have to send people back to a good website.
Right. Okay.
So, are you back with us, Rachel? She's not back with us. We can see her. She can't hear us.
That's all right. Keep going. Okay. So we talked about having a good website to get people back to once you. So you're going to pin things from your pin things from your website onto your boards and drive traffic back that way. Is that what we're saying?
Yes. Number 2,
Should we
make
go?
sure that you are posting good quality. Are you back, Rachel? No, she's still not back. Right, number 2, make sure that you are posting information and pins that are of really good quality. So what do we mean by that? Don't just chuck up any old shit and expect it to work. You need to make sure that you are putting up quality content like you would if you were doing a blog. So you can create some really good infographics in Canva. You don't necessarily need to have an infographic. You could have up just kind of really enticing featured image that would go drive traffic back to your blog. But yeah, try and put something that's got a little bit of relevance on it. Put out things that are useful. So think about what you engage with on Pinterest. It's not all about, you know, our business, all about our brand. It's useful information that you can use in your life. So you need to be creating the same. And when you're creating your pins, it's super important that you actually link back to your website. You would be amazed how many people forget to link back to their own website.
Yeah, but you also need to be careful that you don't just create content that links back to your website. You've got to be creating, you know, you've got to be bringing in other pins into it as well. So your boards are actually valuable and it's not just all about you.
Yeah, exactly. So if you can have a good mix of information so what you would ideally do is, for example, if you write a top 5 ways to grow your Pinterest board, you would have the 5 summarized points on your pin, and then you would click, you know, a read more here on your to your website. So you'd link back to your website. So you were giving information that was good enough, usable on your pin, and then you were hoping that people would go back to your website because it was so usable, so good, so informative.
I do love the Bangladeshi Parliament building.
Why?
I'm sorry, I'm just looking through my Pinterest boards.
Okay, good. You do realise we're live, don't you?
Yeah, that's all right.
Right, so number 1 was start with a really good website. Make sure you've got a trusted domain and you've got some good content on your website. It works well. It's got lots of calls to action. Number 2 is post some good quality stuff. And number 3 is be a good pinner. What do you think that means, Dally?
Being a good pinner means it's the same as any social media platform, really. That if you just broadcast, then your reach won't be great. You know, you need to engage with the platform and with other people on the platform. I think that's what you mean by being a good pinner. So, exactly. So you need to involve yourself. You just can't just put stuff out there and expect people to come to you.
Yeah, I think it's really important as well that you engage in boards that are of a similar ilk, but not always entirely relevant to you. So, you know, like I always use the tea and the teapot analogy. If you make teapots, then don't just talk to other people who make teapots. Don't just comment on things that are about teapots. Comment on, you know, tea, milk, biscuits, that sort of thing as well. Think about what the sort of things that people who are interested in teapots are going to be interested in. I think as well, when it comes to being a good pinner, one of the ways that's really, really powerful for increasing your reach and growing your audience is to become a contributor on other people's boards. So there are websites that you can use, and I'll put a couple in the chat, but the main one is pingroupie.com, and you can search for categories and it tells you the owners of boards and whether or not you can become a contributor. And if you can become a contributor, the steps that you have to take. So very often you usually need to email and request that you join, and then sometimes they'll send you back, you know, submit a few pins or follow these boards, or I've never come across one where you have to pay, but there's usually some stipulations, and that's just to ensure quality. And then you can become a contributor. Some boards have got an awful lot of contributors on, and so you're drowned out. Some boards have got an awful lot of followers, but not a lot of contributors. And so they're the kind of higher quality premium boards that you want to be joining for your sector. but that is kind of one of the best ways to be sharing your content. And being a good pinner in that doesn't mean just spam out a load of your copy, a load of your infographics and content. It's like, comment, and share on other people's, and incorporate theirs into their content that they're putting out into your online activity. The more you do that, it's a community, and you know, you've got to be kind of playing the game fairly in your community. Anything to add on that, Dali?
No, that makes sense as well.
Fucking hell, I'm carrying you. Right. So, number 1, make sure you have a trusted domain and website. Number 2, post quality pins. Number 3, be a good pinner. Number 4, use the right Pinterest keywords. Dali, what do I mean by that?
Well, so you're talking about adding descriptions to the boards and to the images and things like that, and making sure that everything's well aligned so that you're going to get found in searches.
Yeah,
that's it, isn't it?
Yeah. So there was a bit of yeah. Yeah, make sure you put a good description on your pins, that are keyword rich. So don't just keyword stuff. Make it so it's a couple of sentences that explains the values of your pin, and what they might find when they click onto your website. But you know, put some keywords in and use some semantics in there. So if you are going to do about, well, I can't think of a single word now that's got a semantic. Help me out, Dali. What's a semantic?
What's a semantic?
I was trying to use the teapot analogy, and all I can think of is tea caddy. But
what's the teapot analogy?
Well, what I just said, like, you know, don't just talk about teapots, talk about tea and biscuits.
Ah, yeah. So biscuits is a so rich tea biscuits might be a kind of semantic thing to consider there, because it's
the word biscuits.
Because you would eat a rich tea biscuit with a cup of tea, so they are semantically related.
Okay. And hashtags. Now the jury is out on hashtags on Pinterest. It used to be that you didn't use them, and then Pinterest released a statement saying that you could use them, and now it seems to be that they're not clickable. You're not able to search via hashtags. So Pinterest have basically said, do what you want, we don't care. So if you want to use hashtags, you can. But there's chatter out there that they're not actually that beneficial anymore. So
yeah, it's just, I suppose the key thing is when you're setting up your boards, it's to use keywords that people will be searching for, and also to include those keywords within the description as well. And it's important to organize the boards, to optimize the way that they look so that they're attractive for people to actually click on them.
What do you mean by that? Give a bit more on that.
So your boards will, when somebody searches, they get displayed one of your boards, say, and they tend to have a few pictures in them, and they just grab the pictures from wherever, but you can decide which pictures are going to be the main ones. You can be careful about what the bit of content, what the bit of blurb there is going to be that people can actually see when they find it.
Yeah, it's nice as well. Whilst we're talking about quality, I know we're kind of digressing here a little bit, but it is nice if you can curate your board so it looks a bit overwhelming if your board is so massive. Oh, Rachel's back, hence the problem.
Well,
I don't know if that's going to work. No.
She's gone again. So, for example, the Grow Traffic brand, we've got the Grow Traffic green. It's a very, very strong green. And for a while there, I was doing our board where it all had, you know, the green. And it was so overwhelming. And it looked so on brand and so Grow Traffic. And I started to mix it up with other people's pins and adding other people's content to our board, and not being quite as heavy with the green. So it wasn't, you know, it wasn't overwhelming. And I've seen it on Instagram where some people's feeds look really, really nice. There's a girl that I follow, she's a makeup artist and she creates her own skincare. It's Emily Gibson, I think is a professional name, but can't even remember her maiden name now. And we hung out loads. Can't remember. Anyway, her board is really nice, and it's all very she creates skincare, so it's all kind of skin coloured in all its various shades, whatever skin colour is, and it looks beautiful. But if that was Grow Traffic Green, it would be like a smack to the face. So, you know, play to your brand, stay on brand, but maybe don't just keep using your main brand colours. And don't forget to include other people's content on your own board. So right, to recap, Rachel always does the recap, doesn't she? So 1, make sure you've got a trusted website. 2, post good quality. 3, be a good pinner. 4, use the right keywords. And number 5, analyze, review, improve. Sally?
Analyze and improve. I mean, that's analyze, improve, review, and improve. Where were you going with this one, Hannah? I have no idea where you're going with this one.
Fucking hell. Right, so what I mean by this is you need to analyze how effective this has been for you. So you can get information out of Google Analytics if you're drawing traffic from Pinterest. You can get information from Pinterest if you set up a business board, which you should if you're posting for business. You can see the level of engagement that you're getting on pins. You can see when people have saved it. And if you use Google Analytics, you can see how much traffic you're actually driving. And as with most social media, if something is working really well for you, do a bit more of it. And if something is not working really well for you and you've given it a really good bash, and you know, it's not just that you're posting at a certain time of day or that you've kind of hit upon a dead spot in the news or in keywords, then don't keep doing any more of it. So analyze where your traffic's coming from and how effective you've been. Review whether or not your current strategy is aligned with that, and if it's not, improve your current strategy, as with all things in marketing.
Yeah, and I think there's also ways to improve the so some of the ways that you can actually improve, you know, your images, your pins, and your boards on Pinterest is to start thinking about to start using things like the search suggest in Pinterest, and start looking at actual terms that people are using to search, and then you can go back and see if you can improve things that way, and kind of constantly reassess it as trends change, bring trends in.
Yeah, definitely. Okay. Anything else that you want to add then, Dali?
I think from my perspective, I always use Pinterest from probably more of an SEO perspective, obviously, and it's, you know, I think you said this right at the beginning. It's just a great way of getting links back to the website, and originally that was pretty much all it was good for, because the platform didn't have a huge kind of user base at that point, and so but it's still got that, you know, it's still got that benefit. It still enables you to build links back to your content. It's a way of distributing every piece of content, and I always think that, you know, every piece of content that you put out, and we don't do this, but I think that probably every piece of content you put out should share on every channel that you can, and Pinterest is one of those. So
yeah, and a lot of well, I don't know that a lot, some of the social media scheduling tools have got a Pinterest function, so you can create a pin within them, and Canva has got a Pinterest function where you can create a pin in Canva and post it directly to your Pinterest board. So, you know, it is dead easy if you're creating graphics and creating content for your website, which we all know you will be, to just quickly knock up an infographic or get us to do it for you. Or just a really attractive pin that you can then share out onto your Pinterest. But again, like we said, be a good pinner. It's not just about splashing your content out all the time, because you are just going to end up shouting into a void, a bit like on Twitter. And you've got to be curating a board that, you know, to do it really well, to do it properly, curate a board that contains other people's information, other people's pins and their content and stuff, and you know, really contribute to the community.
Yeah, you can get there's a Chrome extension as well, so that all you need to do then is right click on something on any image across the internet, and it'll give you the option to pin it, and then you just pin it straight back to select a board that you want to save it to. You can do it that way.
Yeah. I think it's massively underused, really, isn't it? I mean, it's such a big tool, Pinterest. It's got quite a bit of functionality, really, that is, I don't find it the most user-friendly platform ever. And to be honest, I only really use it for, you know, workout ideas or decorating ideas. I know Alicia uses it really well. Maybe we should have got her on.
Yeah. I've used it in the past for things like pulling together ideas for campaigns, you know, like having a central board where, because the other thing, you can have both public boards and private boards as well. So
yeah,
I've got quite a lot of private boards on there where I've just grabbed a load of ideas for different marketing campaigns, different creatives, and even when we built our little stable out of pallets, I put a board together for that and got a load of ideas. So, you know, there's all kinds of different ways you can use that.
Yeah,
and I think every company that I've worked for, I've created, like, I'm just looking at mine now, when I've got one for the events industry, I've got a board for the building industry and HR, and you know, so kind of everywhere that I've worked, I've kind of created content around it for that.
Yeah, and the Grow Traffic boards are up there. There's one about content marketing, there's one about social media marketing, and they're just full of tips and good pins and stuff that I've found across the internet. So it needs a bit of updating because Dali just immediately searched for it. So if anyone does want to have a little look at any information there, let me, you know, just have a look on, and we'll put some of the boards and websites and stuff that we've talked about in the comments. But the main one that we were talking about was pingroupie.com, which lets you look for boards on which you can contribute, and that grew our traffic, or rather grew our engagement over the Christmas period massively. So I do recommend that. So yeah, then to summarize, I have to do a summary, don't I? Hang on, let me just unlock the phone. Right, so to summarize, make sure you got a trusted website, post quality pins, improve your pinner quality, use the right Pinterest keywords, analyze, review, and improve, as always. And again, as always, if you want to get any help on that, you can get in touch with us on info@growtraffic.co.uk, or give us a call on, what's the number, Dali?
No idea.
None of us know. All right then. Thanks very much. Join us next time. You have to wave, Dali.
I'm waving.
Bye. We're waving.